Day, people.
Happy, well, good morning if you're in our neck of the woods. If not, then
Wherever you
apply
are.
as necessary. Yeah, figure it out. So, welcome back to our first show with just John and I. Hopefully, you'll still show us the love, even though it's just little old us. um, so today, as we move back into a little more of the business and training experience, now that we've introduced all of our amazing ambassadors, we want to talk a little bit about something that's coming that we've all dealt with, but we're not sure what it's going to look like this year. And that's the idea of the summer slowdown or summer slide. And, in past years, it was always, okay, we know that right about now, and, people that follow John's schedule, you have to do it a little earlier. I get the benefit of seeing what you guys do and then following up about 2 months later. Right about now is when you're prepping to figure out, how am I going to ramp up my marketing? What are my specials? And how am I going to survive this summer? We don't know what that's going to look like this year. There's so much variation. Are people doing staycations, in which case enrollment will probably go up? Or is enough stuff opening up that people are going to be traveling, in which case enrollment might go down? We don't know. So we want to, instead of just being prepared for that summer slide, we want to talk about things that tend to not be as affected by that summer slide, so that we can insulate ourselves a little bit. So John, what's your instinct on what you're going to be experiencing over the next couple months?
Given the fact that we're going through this pandemic stuff, and right now our governor just did a free-for-all vaccination. We're not having to go through different age groups or whatever the case may be, right? So we're very hopeful that things would open up a little bit more, right? But that doesn't mean that we're gonna go and open up where nothing has happened, because of course you've got two sets of people out there: people who are freaking out, still freaking out, and people are like, whatever, I'm just ready to get on with my life. So having said that, am I gonna be expecting the floodgates to open up and people will be coming in and signing up like they used to? No, I'm not, because as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I know our area is not gonna be like that. But we've got a couple of things in the pipelines that would help us still maintain the studio, still maintain our team, still maintain people walking in the door and stuff like that. And because we're so methodical in how we're doing our pre-evals and our appointments and things like that, people are calling us. People are always looking at our COVID protocol online. Even when we did the spring break post, we made sure that we tagged in there or added in there, COVID-19 update, because people look for stuff like that. So is it going to be better than this past summer? Yes, it is, to answer your question. Is it going to be like 2017, 2018, 2019? Doubtful in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, and that's it. It's our best guess too. There's still a certain amount of fear around my neck of the woods. But I think the vaccines are helping assuage some of that.
Yes.
In fact, for April 1st, they're getting rid of some of the travel restrictions for us for domestic travel. It's still challenging to go to another country and come back, but that makes it really easy for me to come visit you or Melody or any of our other skill schools. So I'm expecting people to, start traveling a little more in our neck of the woods. So I'm expecting our enrollments to kind of temper a little bit.
Yeah.
We did really well in the first part of this year, as vaccines started rolling out and as public perception shifted a little bit. We did really well. And I don't expect to have the usual hardcore summer slide, but I do expect things to
slow
mellow
down
out a little
yes.
bit. Yeah. And, of course, that's not an excuse. We will be putting into place marketing and aggressive campaigns to do what we can to mitigate that. But as we look at what we've learned over the past year, this ability to pivot and to implement programs that were maybe things outside of our original scope to support our businesses when the world went sideways, we want to take that mindset forward and look at ideas and concepts that, if they're not completely insulated from these seasonal shifts, that maybe they're on a different seasonal schedule. So that if my kids' martial arts program slows down at a certain point, maybe these other programs will pick up. And then as they drop off, it's back to school season and my kids' programs go up. Anything we can do to take away the volatility of our
Yes.
income is going to be a good thing when it comes end of the month time to reconcile the checkbook, right?
So,
Does
I'm glad
anybody
you.
have a checkbook anymore, by the way? I don't know. Yeah. Ooh, it's the
But
engineer in you.
well, okay. So let me rephrase that. I do have a checkbook, but I probably write maybe 1 or 2 checks a month, like to
Yeah.
our landscaper or stuff like that. But
It's
no,
not like 10 years ago where you had to sit down for 3 hours with the calculator
no,
and
God, no,
yeah.
God help us. I'm glad we're talking about this right now, because one of the things that um, I talk to a lot of schools when I'm coaching them. I talk to them about the fact of, you know, there is more than one way you guys can utilize parent skills. There is more than one way you guys can utilize the teaching skills. And everybody looks at it as, well, I'm utilizing it when I'm working with my children or when I'm working with my parents. I was like, okay, now take the parent skills to the side and just kind of create your own entrepreneurial concept under the parent skills format. Are you really connected with your business? Are you really in tune with your seasonal changes that's happening around your area and, within your business, right? Are you adaptable when it comes to certain things, when certain things change? So those are the things that I want every school owner, business owner, martial artpreneur, if that's a word.
Man, you better trademark that one.
But I mean, seriously, the thing here is, because we know what's happening with our area, our community, our town, our whatever you want to call it, from year to year to year to year, and even what's happening with your area during the pandemic or now, I've got more than one person that I talk to. So, for example, I've mentioned this a couple of times. Chris Rodriguez runs our ads, and they do an amazing job. GoPro, absolutely amazing, right? But at the same time, I have got one of my best friends lives here in the area, and I talk to him because he also does martial arts marketing. You know what I mean? And I talk to him constantly about the area, what's happening in the area, where do I need to go, what do I need to do, blah blah blah. And I mean, he shares it with me because like we've known each other for a while, and he actually comes on the show quite a few times, and he puts his 2 cents in. But again, having multiple sources of, I'm going to say, income, or multiple sources of ways or programs or things in your studio that still evolves around your vision, evolves around the martial art concept, that evolves around child development, being a certified child development center. All that is going to be very beneficial, because when things go up, it will go down. But while this one is going down, something else will be coming up. Now, are you ready to grab on that rope that's going up and keep it float?
Yeah, and once you guys if you look at how Skillz puts out content, it always follows a format. And it's not that we sit down and say, let's start from scratch and create this whole new thing. A lot of it is offshoots of other things. And it's just that we have a template, if you will. Everything we do is like 4 stages of development, 8 skills, and most things follow that. That's our pattern. It just works for us. So it's not even that we sit down and say, well, what other sets of 8 things can we do? They're offshoots of other things that we've been doing, and it's just maybe we one day had this idea and let's see if this works. Wow, that did really well. Let's create a program around it. and it's an offshoot of what we already knew, what we already did in a format that we're familiar with. So like John says, things like parent skills, life skills. If you guys have gone through the Mindsight skills with Melody over the past few weeks in the Skillz licensed members group,
Entrepreneur skills.
entrepreneur skills, talent skills, teaching, all these programs are things that you can monetize in certain ways. And it doesn't have to be like our stuff. I mean, I know some people watching are not Skillz members, and that's okay. Find the things in your school that you're already just kind of doing, and like I say to new Skillz members, very often some of this stuff you're doing intuitively. It's just you figured it out over the years of doing what you do. Find those things that people say, oh, Sensei, I love when you do this in class. Guess what? That's a new program. And it doesn't have to be, well, I don't have any more time in my schedule to fit it in. Throw that stuff online, man. Make a course. Teachable is like $100 a month. You sign 2 people up on a course, it's paid for.
So Sharon commented and she said, I wonder what she said about. If you're still watching, Sharon, share with us. Tell us if did we spark something there, or did we say something that
I also notice as I look on my phone, because I have trust issues with Facebook lately, that Sharon has the top fan badge. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on there's a glare. Oh, there we go. Top fan. Look at that.
Yep, I see that. I see that.
Guess that's why she's an ambassador.
Absolutely. What's up, Chris? How are you, sir?
Good morning, sir. So we all have these programs, as the movers and shakers in the Skillz community that we're running that insulate us a little bit. And one of the ones that we're going to talk about today has worked really well for some of our members. It's certainly not for everybody, but it's worked really, really well for some of our members to the point where some people have almost made it the focus of their school. And it just so happens that we might have a little something special for you guys.
Just a little bit special.
Just a little bit, a little something.
Yeah.
So you guys have heard us speak about Spectrum Skillz before. Spectrum Skillz is an age-specific program that is designed for kids living on the autism spectrum. And usually when you hear us talk about it, we're just talking about it as this is a great program to run. You've heard John talk about how he does it in his format. You've heard our new ambassador, Eric, talk about how he's pretty much become the authority in his state for such things. But one thing that I think is important to mention is when you change your audience a little bit and appeal to new people, you're appealing to people on different schedules with different needs. So for example, I think out of all the Skillz schools, my school tends to go the farthest to the side of child development, to the point where we have some classes that don't involve any martial arts at all, right? We still follow Skillz formats. Because I was able to do that, I'm now not speaking to the 2% of people involved or that want to be involved in martial arts. I'm speaking to the 48% of our area who has kids between the ages of 18 months and 14 years old. So I've changed my audience, and it's made some things much easier for me. Some things did take a little figuring out, and they got a little harder, but it made a lot much easier. So John, and I'm going to let you speak mostly about this because I know you run a pretty interesting format with your Spectrum Skillz. But the cool thing about the Spectrum community is that they don't always follow the same school calendar.
No.
A lot of these kids, in fact, have special programs written for them where they go to summer school, not because they failed something, but because they need the consistency every single day, which means there's not as much summer slide with that segment of your population. So John, what do you do with Spectrum Skillz? Refresh everybody's memory, because I like how you do it, and especially right now with us like trying to fit all these things in with cleaning and capacity, and scheduling another class could be challenging, but I think we've got this locked down.
Sure. So a few things with Spectrum Skillz is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is let me learn the program and then I'm going to implement the program, right? I'm going to tell you don't worry about learning the program if you already understand the Skillz concept. Okay, what I need you to focus on is letting everybody in your area know about this program. What are you going to offer in this program, right? And again, the overview of the Spectrum Skills program does an amazing job of letting people know about the 8 different skills that we're going to provide and why those 8 skills. So Clayton did an amazing job in terms of talking about each one of the skills. We also, as soon as we started talking and Melody said Andrew's working on this, because that was Andrew's thesis to become a 5th degree, right? I went out and I started contacting a lot of the therapy offices in the area and connected with them. And I sent them a letter-based email about who we are, what Skillz is, and about this new addition to our program and how Spectrum Skills is going to help the community. The reason being is a lot of the Spectrum Skills, or let me phrase that, a lot of Spectrum families, children who are in the Spectrum realm of things, right? They have trust issues. You know what I mean? And I don't mean trust issues in a bad way, because I don't want it to come across like, well, my child is a Spectrum child. What do you mean by trust issues? We have became people to quickly judge others versus understanding others, right? So when kids or people see another child who's acting out of the norm, then that child becomes labeled right away. And because we don't know where that child is at, that child could be on the spectrum and he's acting that way because of the way they are. So for example, we've got one of our students, I'm not going to mention names, one of our students, when he's in class, he will just blurt out loud and scream, right? Of course, parents would look at him weird. The other kids would look at him weird, but that's just one of his tics, right? So does it make him a bad child? No, we all understand that he's on the spectrum. We educate our community about what spectrum kids will do. I like to spend a little extra time talking to the parents about some of those tics or some of those things, because if I just take a child on the spectrum in, not knowing what their situation is or what's going on, then I'm going to set myself up to fail. Because then, the kids are going to laugh at him. They are going to be mean to them because, and kids don't do it on purpose. You know how kids are, right?
Yeah, and I think I love the fact that you spend the time educating your own community about it. You mentioned the trust issue, and I think it's one of protection.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't trust us. It's that they've had some bad experiences and they want to shield, just like any parent would. They want to shield and shelter their child a little bit, and it's healthy. So I think, as we spoke with a lot of the spectrum community, they were very appreciative of the fact that, when we were running the program pre-COVID, it was that, they had their class, but our goal was also to get them into the regular class and let them experience life, and also let the other kids experience them, because it's a two-way street. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just wired to experience the world differently.
Absolutely.
And that is so valuable, especially in today's very polarized community, for us to create not only tolerance, which is like a keyword that people throw around, but acceptance.
Yep, absolutely. So by contacting those therapy offices, it allowed us to go in there and do kind of like a month at a time sessions in their facility, where they invite the people to come in at their facility, where one of the therapy, oh my gosh, people, oh my God, I kind of like just went blank. One of the therapists, there we go.
There you go.
One of the therapists would come in the room and they're with us. And, because again, when there's a group of kids like that, I'm still new to them. I don't know how some of those children may act, but having that therapist sitting there with us kind of makes me comfortable, because it allows them to handle the children. But we're providing the exercises, we're providing the connection, we're providing becoming more in tune with the kids at the more classes that we do. At the end of every class, I invite the parents to come in and they watch and see what we've learned throughout the whole entire class. Again, that allows the parents to connect with me as an expert in the area. And it also gives them the comfort to come to our studio and do classes at our studio, right? Now, at the moment, with all the spectrum children, we're not doing them as group class, and nor have we done them as group class since this has launched. We've always done them as private classes. We spend, depending on the child, we spend about, say, a testing cycle with them, one-on-one private every single week. And then if they fit, then we graduate them into the group class, and parents love that. And when we graduate them into the group class, we talk to everybody. Hey guys, this is so-and-so. He has been working with Miss Jennifer privately for the last 3 months. Just in case, and I ask the parents, are you okay if I say things out loud to educate the children? And the parents are so okay with it.
Yeah, when you put it that way, to educate the children,
Yes.
that lets their child be a role model,
Yeah.
which unfortunately is not something that many of them experience, even though, very often, depending on, of course, where on the spectrum they fall, these kids do have the ability to become leaders in the world. You look at people like Temple Grandin and several of the entrepreneurs who, high-level entrepreneurs who are somewhere between ADHD and on the autism spectrum. They look at the world so differently and so uniquely that they become somebody that we can follow. And to give them that opportunity as children is so powerful. And just before I forget, Sharon asked, can you share an example of that letter?
Absolutely, Sharon. Would love to.
Cool.
So, go ahead.
So as I said, one of the things that I like about the way that you do it is, I'm going to say this, and I don't mean it in a bad way. It doesn't become a burden on your school. And I don't mean that in a sense of, hey, we're working with autistic children. I mean that just in a logistics sense of, all right, where do I fit this in my schedule? How do I charge? How do I train? What do I do? You've done it in such a way that you're almost to the point where you are farming it out. I mean, you still have that leadership role in it and that interactive role in it, but you have the therapist or counselors there to support you. You're using their location, and you're going to where this community is, which highlights that just as kids on the spectrum are spectrum disorder, they could be so very different. The way that you implement a program like this, and this is one of the reasons that it insulates you a little bit, has so much freedom. You can run it as a program in your school, 2 spectrum classes, an A day and a B day every week. You could run it as a 1 day a week support program for autistic kids who are in your typical programs. You could run it as a, I was gonna say a 6 week, but I guess it's 8 Skillz. So you can run it as an 8 week program, standalone program that people sign up and just take that. And there's no ranking. And if they want to take it again, they take it again. You can even go so far as hire somebody, maybe a special education instructor who wants to pick up a little bit of extra money, and you contract them to teach it at other locations. You're providing all of the logistical background and the sales and all of that. And then you say, hey, Mr. Salama, I got a gig for you. Monday and Wednesday, you're going to be at, the Little People's Academy, and that's for the next 8 weeks.
Yes.
And you just completely sub it out. And because this is a supported community, and what I mean by that is there are many not-for-profit organizations, awareness organizations. These kids get services from their school districts. There are services and programs provided by many state, federal, and private organizations. It's a specialty class.
Yes.
You can charge more for it and not worry about whether people will be able to afford it, because they're just going to hand that paperwork over to whichever organization provides them. In New York State, they call it self-directed funds. So anything that supports their ability to interact in society or their ability to develop intellectually or personally, they're allowed to spend a certain amount of their state support money directly on that program. So I could charge
Absolutely.
$2,000 and they'll just get a piece of paper that says the state's going to pay it.
Yep. And this is a situation we're in right now. We've got a couple of our children on the spectrum who don't pay us out of their pocket. That agency gave us a call and they're like, all of a sudden we got 3 of our members are wanting to use you as their extracurricular activities for their child. If you just do us a favor, let us know who you are, what you do, and you're going to have to fill out like a background check with them. You're going to have to provide them with, I want to say like a special 1099 form, because they're going to,
Yeah,
pay
there's
you the
usually a
money.
little paperwork involved.
Exactly. And it wasn't
It's the
anything.
government.
Yeah. I mean, I think it took my Jennifer like 5 to 10 minutes to fill everything out. But now those families don't necessarily pay us, right? That agency pays us. Now, it's not going to be a comfort, not comfort. It's not going to be where like you guys are doing the auto billing. You know what I mean? You're going to have to do a little bit of extra work. You're going to have to invoice it, turn it into a PDF file, submit it through an online portal. It's a little bit of extra work, and they pay you within what they call a net 30. So within 30 days, you're going to get your check directly deposited into your account. But when you're working with agencies like that, when you're working with families like that, you're going to have to go with the flow. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like, well, if you don't pay me, blah, 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 I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Again,
not,
it's the government. There may be some delays.
Yep.
So Sharon asked a great question. With children on the spectrum, do we use the language neurotypical neurodivergent when talking to therapists? So even within the spectrum community, there are some schisms, and certain people love, for example, the logo with the puzzle piece. Others hate that because it says, well, that says that something's missing from me. Some love saying that my child is autistic, and others hate that you will define them that way. Neurotypical and neurodivergent, when speaking in a clinical sense, is usually fairly safe terminology. And even introducing yourself to those families can be kind of safe. It's a good neutral starting space. But I would also understand that there are going to be opinions when you get to the family unit level. So just like we would handle maybe somebody that likes to be gendered a different way, it's a simple question. How do you prefer that we address this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the family will guide you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because as you are educating your community on what you're going to provide and what you're going to do, allow them to educate you on everything that Michael just talked about, right? There is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong to ask. It's kind of like, Michael, is your last name Michael or Michelle? Because, I understand in some countries they say it Michelle, they don't say it Michael. How would you like me to address you? You're not offending anybody. You're simply asking, so you're educated on where they are on the spectrum.
Yeah, as long as you
spectrum.
approach from a position of tact.
Yes.
I think is the most important. Same thing if you meet somebody from a different culture or something, said, oh, wow, that name is so weird. You could say, how do you pronounce your name so that I can make sure I pronounce it properly? That's a fair question.
And I do that all the time.
Yeah, we have people from so many cultures coming into our school. If you approach it from a position of, what words would you like me to use to better serve you?
I mean, hey, let's look at within the English language, right? You've got Alicia and Alicia.
And Alicia. And it gets crazy.
Yeah.
So just ask for a position of tact. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a safe bet that neurotypical and neurodivergent is a fairly safe general term in a therapeutic conversation. So there are many ways to implement spectrum. And while we're talking about spectrum skills today, this is true of any of the programs that we offer in our schools. There are ways to get out there. We've talked in the past about like that Swiss Army ninja and take your core skills, agility stuff, go down to the soccer field and talk to the soccer coach. Hey, I know your season starts in 2 weeks and the kids haven't played in a year and a half. Mm-hmm. How about we run a clinic? There's so many ways to do it. But since we are speaking about spectrum skills, I'm going to post in the comments a link. Melody does have an awesome flash sale running right now for the Spectrum Skills program, which includes 2 age-specific programs, one for 7 and 9-year-olds and one for the older kids, 10 to 14. It is a lifetime membership, so it's one payment only, and you will be able to use that content forever, along with all the branding and everything that goes with it. So that link is in the comments there. Click through. It doesn't cost anything to click the link and see what it's all about.
And I think she's doing a 48-hour test drive. If you guys are wanting to, you gotta join the free tips group, Melody Johnson free tips group, and she made a post. If you put your email in the comment section, you'll get a 48-hour test drive. But if you can't find it, reach out to one of us.
And if you have questions about spectrum skills, I mean, John and I can probably both answer in detail. Clayton created the program, so I'm sure he could answer in detail. But I think really a great resource for you is going to be Skillz Ambassador Eric, who has, he just posted in one of the groups. I also just posted the link there for the free Skills Tips group. If you guys aren't in it, please join. It's free.
Yep.
Eric, also, I think, has what, 125 Spectrum Skills members or something like that?
Yes. But also we have Meg Kletke. She's a Spectrum Skills mom. She's also a school owner, and she also running a pretty nice Spectrum Skills program in her studio. But so yeah, between the two of them. Now I know Eric works in worked in a special needs school, so he probably has a whole lot more on hand experience. But also don't forget, so Eric comes in with the knowledge and stuff like this because he's worked in that heavy community, right? But Meg comes in because she's a mom.
And both of those perspectives are so important.
Exactly. So you've got the educators like us, right? But you also have the people who lived it, the people who are living it. And it's one thing to have a kid come in your studio and you're doing a Spectrum Skills private class with them, for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And it's a whole different ball game when you're having to wake up with them in the morning and go to sleep with them at night. So,
yep. And from a business perspective, no matter what we want to teach and what we want to sell, doesn't matter. It only matters how they want to be served. And, are we really making a difference in that child's life? So having that parent perspective is going to be so helpful. So I definitely recommend reaching out to both of them. I'm sure if you were really creative, you could even get a 3-way call going with them, and they would probably love to do that. I just volunteered them without them even knowing.
I mean, hey. Okay.
Oh, so there you go. Here's another third one.
Yep. Here's a third one.
Yep.
Perfect.
So that would be great. And I love the fact that Tim's already thinking about having his daughter, who's living with autism, serve as an assistant and a role model in that class.
Absolutely.
That's like having a women's self-defense seminar taught by a man versus taught by a woman. That's going to be a completely different experience. So
absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. So if you guys have any questions about Spectrum Skills specifically, please reach out to those ambassadors. They will be able to help you out. If you have grander questions that maybe John or I can help you with about insulating your business a little bit or planning for the what ifs of this second unknown year in a row, please hit us up. That's what we're here for. Join Melody's free Skills Tips group. There is so much information provided in there that is absolutely free. And then if you'd like to discuss the skills programs, we're here for that as well.
Yes, sir. Well,
all right.
It's Wednesday. The week is not over. And you've got plenty of time to grind, plenty of time to look into the Spectrum Skills, and plenty of time to educate your community on what you do best.
There you go. Nothing left but to go get it.
Go get it done. Peace out, people.
All right, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Take care.